bring the 4 November 2019 session of the Crewe Town Council to order. Please join with me in a word of prayer. My Father, who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, we forgive us our trespasses. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
please join with me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, delegations from the public, Ms. Yates.
I have two things this evening. The Wash Bucket Initiative, I'm happy to announce, raised about $8,000 on our dinner to help with the Veterans Memorial. And with that being said, it means that we're not going to have any trouble upgrading the electrical over there. What we'd like to do, what we're proposing is that we put an LED light hardwired at the base of each flag so that we can see the flags when we're driving through town at night. And another donation is offering to revegetate the whole area and put in a drip system to water it, which is a low-cost watering measure. And they've offered to come in and change out the flowers per season. So they're gonna come in and put in spring flowers in the springtime and fall flowers in the fall and into the winter, like pansies and that type of thing, so that we can get color over there pretty much for the whole year. So we're really excited about that. And with that being said, I've done some research on how much the cost of this would be to the town, because it will cost a little bit more in electrical and water. And we're looking, with all the research I've done, about $12 to $15 a month max. And that would be for part of the year, because the water will only run for maybe 7 months out of the year. So with that being said, we're hoping to get everything, we're really working hard to try to get everything done by Veterans Day, so that we can have a little ceremony over there. And so I guess I'm asking the board if they would allow us that, allow that money, those monies to be spent from, going forward.
Does
So
this
that's my first
council,
thing.
does council have any questions for Ms. Yates?
So, being a gardener, the people that are gonna do the planting and all, they'll take care of weeding.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Mhm.
It's fun to plant, it's not fun to go back and
Well,
weed.
they're offering to maintain it from here on
Oh,
out.
that's very nice.
So it was a real generous offer, and we're really tickled to death. We had set our sights at maybe raising $4,000. In our wildest dreams, we never figured we'd raise $8,000. But we managed it, so we're pretty proud of that dinner. It was good. So that's my announcement.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Yates? What is the wishes of council?
Motion to accept the letter.
Okay. We have a motion, second. A second, any further discussion? All in favor by allowing the Wash Bucket Initiative to orchestrate the LED hardwire at the base of each flag and revegetate and install a water system at a cost of about $15 a month to the town, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. Congratulations.
Thank you. Okay, second thing is, I think it was last month, you announced that you were no longer going to accept the second set of citizens delegations, that you're only going to allow.
Actually, we did this about 4 months ago.
Huh?
I think we did this 3 or 4 months
Well,
ago.
I don't know, I don't think so, I don't know, whatever, I'm not here to argue with you. Whenever it was done, I just want to voice my opinion that I think it really shuts the words of the citizens down.
Okay.
Because I know personally, I find it very helpful to I come into the meeting with one thought, then I hear you guys talk, and it might, it brings up another question, and I think that those questions get lost between the end of the meeting and the following month. And so I don't think it's serving our citizens very well. It's serving to shut them down. And I feel like you guys work at our pleasure, and so it's important that you be our voice. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson, Fire Chief.
I'll take just a minute with y'all. I hope all of y'all got that little article that came out of Firehouse Magazine in your packet, and I hope you will read it. And it reflects on everything that what we've been saying to the Board of Supervisors and the council about the volunteers in America, where we're headed. So I challenge y'all to read it, and I hope you will take it seriously, because that's what's going on. Also, just to kind of give you a reflection on what we spend on money, something that has come up on us again, which is a good problem and a bad problem, but we are sending about 5 firefighters to firefighter 1 school in Farmville, which is a good thing. Bad thing is we have to send them up there with approved equipment. So we're gonna have to spend about $10,000 to $12,000 for equipment to send them to the school. So David Roberts is our quartermaster. He got the prices all together, and the revised thing is now the 851 firefighter is about $3,800, $3,800 to $4,000 with approved equipment. To give you some kind of idea of where we're at, we're spending money, and when the stuff hits 10 years old, whether it looks good or not, it's no good. So, anyway, I just challenge y'all to read that article and take it seriously. And just kind of threw this at you, what we gotta spend in equipment here in the next month or two, when budget time comes, is what I've been saying. So,
When do you want to start the budget cycle? Talks February?
Yeah, probably, we can start.
so anyway.
All right, can you get some stuff together by February? We'll start talking budget
Mhm.
then. for
But
that.
just to give you an insight of what, this, when y'all read this article, the same thing's going on in town of Crewe. We had I'll give you another for instance, a couple of weeks ago, we had a tractor trailer go past the stop sign at 2:45 in the morning. 5 of us answered the call. And one was a new person that couldn't do anything, not trained. 5 of us. I missed a half a day's work because of the 5 of us. That's where we headed. So that's all I got. So, just think about what's going on, and we need to be proactive with the county and this town.
Yes, sir. Thank you for coming.
It would help a lot if by the time we start working on the budget, if we had just a list of things written down, that would be most.
I think what I'm gonna do at the end of the year, when we close the books out, I'll give you a comparison of all our inflows and outflows and show you the red ink.
But we'll need to know what you all need for the future.
Huh?
We'll need, what we're asking for is what you're gonna need for next year.
Yeah, well, money, mainly right now, when we cross the bridge, we get to it, mainly we need to be able to save some money for a truck.
Yeah.
So we can, we've always paid for them, and when they came into the firehouse, we wrote them a check for it, and it's not there no more.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your work, all 3 of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Before I do, actually, I got a chief back here too. Mrs. Pettis.
Good evening. I will try to make my remarks brief, and that I'm talking about something that's pretty mundane to most people, but I think is very important because I'm in the weeds of it right now. I want to talk to you briefly about Census 2020. I mean, we are now, census, April 1st, 2020 is actual census day. But we are now headed toward holidays, and when people are distracted, and before you know it, January will be here. When you consider everything that is needed, every 10 years the U.S. government has to count every citizen in this country. It's required by law. And those numbers are used to determine how billions of dollars in federal resources are allocated. It's distributed among states, local governments, and counties. Without an accurate census count, many states and towns like Crewe will be denied full funding they deserve and they need. Virginia receives more than $5 billion every year in federal funding for many critical programs that communities depend on in order to survive. In fiscal year 2018, 132 programs within Virginia were funded based on census data. Some of the programs that will be impacted by an undercount include, but are not limited to, medical assistance programs for children and the elderly, Pell Grants, which are made available to students attending college, school lunch programs, highway planning and construction, which has been a big concern here, Medicare, supplemental nutrition programs for women, children, and infants, vocational rehabilitation, and even crime victim assistance. The census also affects how state legislative districts are drawn and the number of congressional representatives each state has. Much of the disparities in census participation is directly tied to demographics. Approximately 11.7% Virginians live in what is defined as a hard-to-count census tract, and unfortunately, Crewe is one of those places. And they include communities that have populations with limited English proficiency and areas where there are a number of renters and transients that are moving in and out of a community. So it's kind of hard to keep track of where those people are going to go. There's also been a problem getting an accurate count of children. During the 2010 census, they estimate that over 1 million children in the state of Virginia were not counted. And that is a big number. According to the Virginia Department of Commerce, $2,000 of federal funding will be lost each year for each person in Virginia who is not counted. So after 10 years, so by the 2030 census, we're losing $20,000 per person. So I have been working as a consultant with a couple of jurisdictions that are organizing the churches, nonprofit community-based organizations in their towns and communities, as well as businesses, to implement what we're calling Sabbath Sunday. So we're working with the churches to put information in their bulletins, to bring census workers into the church to explain the process. I mean, it's easier now than ever. People can fill out the forms on mail, they can do them online, they can, of course, if the census person shows up at your door, and they are gonna be sending folks out to those areas where they feel that they can't reach people. But that is a lot of money for the town of Crewe to lose. And so what I'm asking is that the town, either working through the community development or an economic development committee, pull together a team to start working on this, because March is gonna be here. Federal government will start sending out notifications of census activity in March, but the actual census count starts April 1st. I just want to make you aware that that's coming. There is, Governor Northam set up a complete count commission. There are representatives from every county except Nottaway. I looked at the list. There is no representative from Nottaway. There's no representative from Amelia. There's no representative from Prince Edward, which are the counties surrounding us, which makes no sense to me. I mean, this does not require a lot of monetary investment on the part of the town, because really, it's just talking to people, getting them interested in understanding that this is their benefit. You know, sometimes we have a tendency to feel like it's a privacy issue. You don't want to talk to anybody, you don't want to share any information. It is, the government is required by law to keep whatever information you share confidential. There is, at this point in time, no citizenship questions, so there is no reason why people should not complete this information. So regardless of your political aspiration, the time is now, because whatever happens, we're gonna be stuck with it for 10 years. So I'm asking the town to get together and see if we could figure out a way to encourage everybody that's here to participate in the census.
I'll take this for action.
Okay.
I'll contact John Procyse and find out what the county's doing, and see what we can do to be a part of that. But we can also both put in English and Spanish on our utility bills, information, because people, we put little messages on there.
Excellent idea.
So we'll do that as part of our educational outreach, if you will.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Mr. John E. Pettis.
Good evening, everybody.
Before you talk, let me thank you on Veterans Day for your service, your prior service to this country.
Thank you. I'm not as far as here on federal government and state government. I just want to stick right here in the town of Crewe. All right, I'm a morning walker, and I visit the park every morning. And I want to know what can we do as far as lighting is concerned, because I know that we have at least one person, I can't say male or female, that sleeps in the park, and God forbid, if this person is found dead in the park and their family comes against us and want to know, well, why weren't there lighting there? Why nobody saw him?
Where do they sleep?
In that little pavilion that they have there?
Gazebo.
Chief? Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you. Just, like I said, my whole objection to this is get some lighting in the park so that Chief can see him, you know, make it easy on him. Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention one quickie thing, can I?
Go ahead.
The Wash Bucket is having their next fundraiser, and I really would like to make it as public as possible. We're going to be selling Christmas wreaths for $45 a piece. We're going to have a veterans wreath made and a family wreath, and we're offering to put them on the graves of the cemetery in both Burkeville and Crewe.
Where will you be selling them?
We're selling them, we're taking orders now.
Okay, so how does someone contact the Wash
You can
Bucket?
contact my number, you can contact me. I give you my number, 645-7711. Or they can reach out to Lynn Roberts at First Citizens, or they can reach out to Beth Robertson at Benchmark.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
And these will be put on stands and everything, it'll be it'll be done well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, with that in mind, we go to the consent calendar. Matters on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be approved by one motion. Any item to be removed from the calendar at the request of a member of council and may be voted on separately. You will have the minutes from the last meeting, the bill sheet in addition. You will have the additions are in front of you, and there's a correction to the minutes. We misunderstood. It was there was some mistranslation into why we gave an individual a pay raise last week. He actually got missed. It wasn't because he had a CDL. He actually got missed somehow in that pay raise. There's a memo in your packet from the town clerk explaining everything. So all I want to do is correct the minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept them with correction.
All right. We have a motion to accept. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. All right. Obviously, we have no town manager's report. I am not going to go into detail into the mayor's report other than some action items. We have one correction on the town manager search. We have one resume that was submitted by mail, snail mail today, that for the PDF that's sent out to everybody through your email, your town email. Now, the Commonwealth of Virginia authorizes localities to impose credit card convenience fees to help recoup that cost. The Nottaway County Treasurer currently imposes a 2.5% fee on credit card transactions. We have mentioned this, several of you think it's a good idea. I just want council to be on record before we impose a 2.5% increase or fee.
I'm surprised we didn't do that already.
Sir?
I'm surprised we didn't do that.
I am too, no.
So we need a motion?
You need a motion?
I'll make a motion that we impose the 2.5% credit card processing fee.
All
I
right.
assume that's what it would be called.
Yes.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Water Department. The town usually maintains an extra water pump for backup at the water plant. Susan Quigg advises that the old pump, which is replaced, can be repaired and placed in working order for $9,500 by Atlantic Pump. She says they guarantee their work and will deliver it to the water plant, and we can keep it on standby. She advises that buying a new pump would cost $15,600. So what's the council's pleasure?
I thought that was already done.
Not yet.
I mean, when he when he put the new pump in, they didn't rebuild the old?
No, she's waiting on authorization. They came back with a bid, $9,500.
He can't have a choice.
I know.
Make the motion, we do it.
Okay. Who made the second?
Bill?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed by like sign. Motion carried. Now, we have a proposal from Hurt and Profit to do the asbestos inspection on this house over here that we had condemned, but there's been some stuff happening. Apparently the house was sold today and the town attorney.
I'll give you an update, and then I also have some other updates to go.
Okay, so we'll say.
Yes, if I could, I have, some memos and then also some updates, but there are no worries on our end.
All right, well, we'll hold off on any action there then. The Lipscomb Stratton Street project is closed. This is the official documentation saying that project is closed. We had a letter prior where they gave a lot of kudos to the town clerk and other members of the town staff for the support that they provided during this entire project. I can make copies of this or PDF or have it PDF and sent to each of you. It's pretty lengthy, but it's worth reading, I think. It's always good when you get good feedback on your staff. All right, the police department has stepped up ordinance enforcement efforts and citations are being issued where appropriate after a rental residence had its water shut off due to failure to pay. The water meter at the burned house on Pennsylvania Avenue was appropriated and used to tap into town water line, so water was stolen. The meter has been recovered and larceny charges are pending. I also signed 2 police department grant applications on the 24th of October. I asked the chief to come tonight so he could brief you on any questions that you might have, respond to any questions you might have.
I've got a comment. I want to commend everybody for stepping up the enforcing the ordinances, because I've noticed a difference already. There's several places that are, and I talked to the chief this morning, he was giving me updates on letters that have been sent to people for their grass, and I know another house has been condemned already. So I want to commend them for their work on the ordinances.
All right. Anybody else? Any comments for the chief? Chief, we want to thank you and your team for all the work they do. It's not easy being out there. You're the thin blue line like our firemen over here. You're outgunned and undermanned sometimes, but you still manage to step up and do it. And you know, our modern day militia, as far as I'm concerned, you're the modern day Minutemen. You're out there doing it every day. And I want to thank all of you for what you do in the emergency services side of the house. I really do.
Oh, thank you.
So, all right, no questions. You go ahead.
Thank you.
Parks and Rec, I had an update on the Peter Francisco signs. I thought we were going to get them by this weekend, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. I'm hoping we get them and get them up by Thanksgiving anyway, so we'll see. We'll get up before I leave, I can tell you that. What else? All right. Okay, that's the gist of it. Committee reports, Finance Committee. Ms. Denton.
Mayor, is it okay if I can give my report
Yes.
now, or do you all want me to?
Well, I'm sorry, did I pass right over you?
Yes.
You did. I'm
Can
sorry.
we go over this Dominion Energy?
Yes, if you want to.
Yeah, they're putting the street light, now, I noticed they're replacing a lot of street lights, and they really look good, because they did the one right there at the garment factory, and it lights up a lot. I'm wondering if maybe while they're in town, if maybe they could put 1 or 2 up by where the park is, where Mr. Pettis was talking about. Because that thing puts off a lot of light.
It's out today. Yeah.
They're gone?
I can call.
Well, we
But,
can put a requisition in to have streetlights put in, because they do a monthly bill on them.
Yeah, because those new LED lights look amazing, and they're putting off a lot of light on the street.
You said it's a requisition process?
I mean,
It's a requisition
yeah,
process?
just call and then, yeah.
All right.
Just on that topic as well, I followed up with a question for the, individual who told us about this underground program and asked if we can work with, Dominion on maybe strategically determining places where aesthetically would be better for underground lines, and we got a canned response, saying that we get that request a lot, and we'll make our decision. and let
Yeah,
you know.
what she told me, well, I met with the lady.
Okay.
And what she told me was that, what they're looking at are lines that suffer a lot of damage, believe it or not. And I guess they keep statistics whenever there's hurricanes and tornadoes and things, certain lines go down, they just seem to be susceptible. And that's why they do it, they don't do it for beautification.
Right, well, it sounds like you have to look solid right before a windstorm and,
Wait till the next storm, right?
It did
I didn't say that.
Gatewood and Rock House.
All right,
They've already done Gatewood and Rock House.
and I skipped right over the town attorney, and I want to apologize, I'm sorry.
No problem, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have a memo for all of the members of council, if you want to
Thank you.
go and pass it down. And this just details everything we have going on. So first thing I wanted to talk about was the Watson building. Bottom line, council has nothing to worry about. I made sure that our interests were protected today. So just as a little bit of background, as you all know, we did get an order from the court on October the 28th that authorized that the town could in fact remove the dangerous building there and gave the town the permission to enter on the property to do so. What I made sure to do was to make sure that the order was recorded among the land records prior to the tax sale today. Jim Elliott did have a tax sale. The Watson building was on there, but since the order was recorded, that is notice to any new owner that's out there that in fact this is, subject to the town's order to demolish the building. Now there was, and then I attended the auction today as well. I was over there, I recorded the order, I had some other business to attend to, so I stayed for the auction because I wanted to know who was the person that, was bidding on it, and if anyone did. A person, and I have, her name is Tiffany Shao, S-H-A-O, was the person that bid on the property. The bid was $1,000. And so, I don't know, because it will be up to the town and the county to accept that bid. I know that the Watson house has been previously auctioned before too, and the bids have been rejected. And so, today was a bid, but it's not the final sale. So, the county could very well reject it, or we can talk to the county, or however you all want to proceed. I did also want to address council in closed session about this too. But bottom line is, my advice is just to proceed with getting the building demolished, and we have the legal right and the authority to do so.
Okay, well, with that in mind, then, we should go ahead and do the asbestos request.
Yes. If there is a change in owner, if, that still would not affect anything that town can do.
Okay,
So, second, tax collection, actually, when I saw Jim Elliott himself at the sale today, I did talk to him about that. I made sure that the town of Crewe's interests are being looked after, because I'd sent him a letter saying, hey, we have some properties that, you're selling for the county of Nottaway. Don't forget about the town of Crewe too, because the town also is owed delinquent taxes. And what he told me was not to worry, that he does have my letter into account, and he does look at that and make sure that he collects for the town of Crewe when he does the sale, in addition to the county of Nottaway. So I told him, thank you for his consideration with that. The other thing I did, is I also just gently reminded him some of the properties that were for sale today, there are some delinquent taxes for Crewe as well, so I just made sure that, you know, he was aware of that to make sure that the town is included in those efforts as well. So, and then I have, 2 other matters to be discussed in closed session too.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, ma'am.
thank you.
All right, we've got a committee chairs, Ms. Stetson, Finance Committee.
Well, as we just said, we'll be beginning our, budget process soon. So, it would be really helpful if anybody has any of the departments and so forth. We'll have to be checking with them and see what they foresee their needs to be. Another thing that we need to do is schedule, our town employee insurance is coming due, so we need to see if we can schedule a meeting. Did he get back?
Tomorrow at 10 a.m.
10, thank you. So, that's tomorrow at 10.
See you tomorrow then.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Personnel Committee, Mr. Reed.
Other than searching for a town manager, I don't have anything else to report.
Very good. Community Development, just fine.
Nothing at this time.
All right, Economic Development.
We just had a meeting, we'll be having another meeting sometime in November? November 21st, thank you. Also on that, I guess I'll bring this up now instead of continuing business. As you know, we submitted for the VDOT TAP grant. That'll be sometime in 2020 before we hear about that. We also submitted for 2 VEDP grants. One is a planning grant, $50,000 with a 100% match requirement, and one is, and that's for planning. The other one is for remediation, and we asked for, I believe, $360,000 with 100% match requirement, but those match requirements are anticipated to come from the VDOT TAP grant, or I'm also looking at some other grants to cover those. I did hear back from the planning grant, and that was accepted. So we can start in on that as soon as we hear from one of these other grants. I wouldn't want to start in on it until we hear from one of those others, because we would be on the hook for $50,000.
Right.
Right. But that would give us the, what's called an ESA phase 1 and phase 2, where they do the testing. That's also a CCTV inspection of the water and sewer lines over there. So they basically send a camera down and see how the water and sewer lines at the building are. And then the big money item there is $25,000 set aside for a remediation plan. So once they have everything, they go through the planning process and then the bidding process and get everything ready for us to remediate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good work. All right, continuing business. We did the public hearing last month on the, to vote on an increase in the cigarette tax from 22 to 27 cents a pack, and a vote to change the meals tax from 5% to 6% on gross sales. What is the pleasure of council?
I would like to make a suggestion if I could. When we do that, we just had a 9-cent per pack increase across the board from the tobacco companies per pack. So if we could wait till the first of the year, so it's not such a big hit at
We
one
can
time.
implement it on the 1st of January. Is that
Start
the wishes
January
of
1.
council? Yeah.
What is the anticipated revenue from each of these?
We were figuring about $48,000 to $50,000, might be more than that even.
It's the boat tax.
Yeah, for both, yeah. And in fact, it could be up to 64. That was the estimate.
So, are you proposing to start the meals, if we voted for it, the meals tax of January 1st as well?
We can do that, just put them together.
Yeah, I'd put them together.
Well, we can go ahead and do that.
We
now.
could do the meals
That
tax now.
We can go do both of them effective January 1st. We actually vote on both of them
Yeah.
first.
My only thought was with the cigarettes, with them going up 9 cent a pack now, and then it would be 15 cent a pack.
Unless they go make them better quit smoking.
No, it's not, but, you know, it's a little less of a hit at one time, you know what I mean?
Do we tax vaping products?
They're under cigarette.
Very good. Okay, so what is council's pleasure? Need a motion,
If we can take these one at a time,
sir?
if we can take these one at a time.
That's pretty much what you gotta do, because it's two different taxes.
Sure.
I'll make a motion that effective January first, we'll go from 22 cents to 27 cents per pack, effective January first.
All right, we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. All right, meals tax.
5% to 6%,
Yeah,
January 1st.
Are you making a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Raise the meals tax from 5% to 6%, effective 1 January. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed by like sign.
Yeah.
All right. We have one no, Mr. Miskovic. Okay, thank you. All right. Any new business?
Well, this is more continuing business, but as you'll recall, last month, council discussed, RFPs for GIS services. And we put out an RFP and got in three bids. Haven't really looked at them in too detail since they were due today, but I've got copies here for anyone to peruse, and we can discuss at the next meeting.
Okay.
Unless we want to form just a small committee of
I'll
2
just
or
say
3 people.
PDF that, but I mean, that you got copies for everybody?
Right, just 3 copies, in case anyone doesn't use the internet as much as the rest of us.
It's
I
okay.
didn't want to call anyone out, but,
It's Robbie, Billy.
It's okay.
I still like carrying pigeons.
All right, 3 bids. Did you look at them with the bottom line ones?
they're going to be around 10,000 or less,
Okay.
for the one-time cost, and then 5,000 or less, I believe, for the, I honestly didn't look at each one specifically,
No
but
problem. That's all right, that's all right. All right, what else? Anything else?
that's it for me.
Mayor, I've included in the packets just a short piece of information about possibilities for a historic district in the town of Crewe. It's been worked on previously. I met with Peggy Figler, the president of the Nottaway Historic Association, back on October 16th, I think. I will say that it's not as restrictive as I had the impression that a historic district would be. A list of houses, residents were designated as possible options back a few years ago, and I believe Deborah Dunn helped Peggy with that, along with a representative from the state. In my opinion, we probably, if we want to pursue this, it would be of more benefit to the town to go through our business district and see if some of the buildings there would qualify. Of course, anybody that, even the residents, those people that own those houses would have to agree. And it's not, I thought, you know, like if you decided if all of a sudden I decide I want to paint my house a different color and I was listed on in a historic district, that I would have to get permission from someone. And that doesn't seem to be the case in this instance. So, you know, it's a little more freedom than I anticipated, but still, owners of property would have to agree. But I think as far as beautifying the town and getting some grant help, we should probably, if we so choose, get the representative to come and look at our business district and see what buildings there would qualify.
That's a good idea.
You got that link?
Yep.
I sent you. There was a study done in the 90s, I can send the link out to anybody that's interested. There was a Department of Historic Resources survey in Ottawa County, where they went around and identified a lot of houses in potential historic district areas. I mean, they actually plotted them out on a map. I'll send you guys that link.
And I have the list Peggy has. She has added a few new ones because in their investigation, they found that some of them are no longer in existence.
Oh. Bad.
Yeah, well, but she's added some, so I'll get that to you. But there were no business buildings listed.
All right.
The one on Main Street was listed, the B&M building was listed.
I don't know.
All right. Any other new business?
Mayor, I do have a piece of new business. Given that we just increased revenue, I'd like to. Exactly. To discuss supplementing the fire department's budget.
Yeah.
Especially with these new equipment costs that they just told us about.
I think so. Let's look at the budget. In fact, I'll get with the clerk Wednesday. You available with, yeah, I'll get with the clerk Wednesday and the vice mayor, and let's see if we can find some money to.
Perfect, and especially if we're, trying to use some of this for
Well, they've got
police
five-
department
they've
and
got
fire.
five.
I mean, I think we can work it both out since it's, we're only looking at 6 months between now and, or
Well,
when this implements and in July.
one of the things they also protect are the water and sewer facilities, so I think we can probably do what we have to do.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other new business?
I would like to just note the blight reduction effort on the sheet, so people know. We've got the Watson House, which is across here, we've already discussed. The house on Pennsylvania Avenue where the fire was, it's been demolished and cleared off, which looks lovely. The house on Maryland Avenue, the Hussey House, has been condemned and is dangerous and notified. Dean Lewis notified the town on October 29th. On October 31st, the mayor sent a letter to the owner in Tennessee advising the house had been condemned, is considered a public health and safety hazard, and must be demolished. 709 Tyler Street, the renter at this location contacted the Nottaway County Building Inspector to identify potential health hazards to the residents. Building inspector provided a copy of a letter to the town. The mayor initiated a letter to the owner in Florida. Owner advising the house may be in violation of the Virginia Landlord Tenant Act and unsuitable for rental, and corrective actions should be taken immediately. 310 Pennsylvania Avenue, and we've already discussed that, the water issue where a meter was stolen and used to steal water. And then a Melody Lane resident, several residents complaining about the junk in the yard. Mayor advised the landlord via letter that the property is in violation of the town ordinance. For remedial action was requested. I think that's a huge progress right there on the blight issue. A lot of houses right there.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, points of personal privilege, Mr. Miskovic.
Everyone remember to vote tomorrow, and happy Thanksgiving. Oh, also, should we talk about the Christmas parade? Sounds weird, but that's coming up, and I guess that's
Do you
before
want to
next
talk about
meeting.
it?
Are we,
It's the first Thursday of the month.
are we doing
December
something
5th.
as a group?
It's the normal procedure, I think.
Right.
We're walking.
Can we ride this time?
If you want to ride, you can ride.
We're a split up last
We're a
time.
heel community.
I know, but we got such
Oh,
a
bastard.
You didn't have candy.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and I kept running out.
Okay.
We just need to throw it.
all right. Mr.
Be
Engel?
careful.
I think the highway department took care of mine. I saw what they'd been through and cleaned up these drop boxes, look real good.
Okay, they've been in town doing some work. We had over by the Nazarene Church, they were fixing a road that it could drop off to. Get some issues there. Mr. Knight?
I don't have anything.
Ms. Stinson?
One question while you mentioned that, Maryland Avenue, VDOT working on that issue with
Yes,
the roads?
yeah. They're working on it, it's a work in progress, they have to do some stuff, they got all the permissions from the neighbors that they had to get over there. I have not actually had a chance to walk down a bit, doing a lot of overtime. at my
Yeah.
job, So,
Yeah,
so I haven't had a chance to actually walk down in there and.
I just
look at
noticed
it.
equipment down there, so I was.
Oh, yeah, they've been busy for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
They get the road pretty much dug up and all.
Mr. Reed.
great.
All right, with that in mind, I'll
One more
entertain-
thing, I'd like to commend you guys for y'all's work on filling in for the town manager.
She handles the hard stuff.
You're hired.
Yeah, I quit.
Mr. President?
Yeah, I have, one question I'd like to ask you all. I talked about the town and talked about the lovely job that you all seem to be doing, but on my street, for some reason they paved, but they didn't come all the way down to the end of the street, and I can't understand why.
What street is that?
That
Yeah.
look like,
Rock Castle?
Councilman,
Well,
yes, sir.
Okay. Is it,
That's
does the town?
interstate maintenance?
Yeah, well, that's a town on the street.
Oh,
Oh, okay,
okay.
all right, all right. We can follow up
Same as
on that.
Watson.
Let me talk,
Appreciate
let me talk to the town,
Appreciate that.
street department,
And we've advertised for a leaf cleanup, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah, they cleaned up leaves at my place today.
Okay, perfect.
all right. With that in mind, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session, consistent with Virginia State Code 2.2-3711A, subsection 1, personnel, and subsection 3, real property,
And 7,
and 7.
It's on the
with the
additions.
consultation with legal counsel over,
It's on the additions.
Okay,
I
consultation
got
with
you.
legal
I got
counsel, other litigation.
So moved.
All right, all in favor say aye. All opposed by like sign.